Hey everyone. Today's video is going to be about how to be a consistent performer. We all know that. People who achieve greatness are consistent. Now, the question is, why are they consistent? How does one achieve consistency? Well, there are some tips and tricks that we can learn from people who are great at being consistent. So let's dive right in. The first tip is to build systems, not goals. Think about this for a moment. What motivates you? Why do you want to be better? You probably have a goal, right? Maybe you want to lose weight, maybe you want to earn more money, or maybe you just want to read more books. Whatever your goal is, let's just call it X. Now ask yourself this: is goal X motivating you? Or is it the journey of working towards X that actually inspires you? Well, most people would answer that they're motivated by the result, but very few people actually experience that motivation consistently. Instead, what we should be aiming for is building systems, which is essentially the process of working towards our goals. Because here's the thing, goals give us direction, but systems give us traction. So if you're struggling to stay motivated, it might be helpful to focus on building systems rather than chasing goals. So what exactly is a system? Well, it's a set of processes and habits that we follow in order to achieve our desired outcome. For example, if you want to lose weight, your system might involve setting aside time each day to work out, eating healthy foods, and getting enough sleep. If you want to earn more money, your system might include investing in your education, networking with other professionals in your field, and applying for jobs. Essentially, a system is the step-by-step process that you follow to achieve your goal. Now, the reason why systems are so important is because they provide us with structure and consistency. When we have a clear system to follow, it makes it much easier to stay focused and motivated, even when we don't feel like it. Now, how do we create an effective system? Well, it starts with identifying the steps that we need to take to achieve our desired outcome. Once we know what these steps are, we can then create habits around them. Habits are essentially the building blocks of systems. And when we have a series of positive habits, it becomes much easier to stay consistent. Tip number 2 is to set non-negotiables. Life gets in the way. Sometimes your workout time turns into work time. Sometimes your quiet reading time turns into a family meeting. Sometimes your midnight study session turns into, well, I don't even know what those guys were doing. But my point is that life happens. Your schedule changes. Things come up. And sometimes it can feel impossible to stay consistent. So what's the solution? Simple. Set non-negotiables. A non-negotiable is basically a rule that you live by. It's something that you never break. For example, I have a non-negotiable rule that I will read for 30 minutes every morning before I start working. Doesn't matter what happens, I make reading my #1 priority because I know that it's important to me. So what are some examples of non-negotiables? Well, it really depends on what your priorities are. If you want to be a writer, then maybe you set a non-negotiable rule that you'll write for 1 hour every day. Or if you're a musician, maybe you set a non-negotiable rule that you'll practice for 2 hours every day. The possibilities are endless. Just remember that the key is to keep it simple. Start with just 1 or 2 non-negotiables and then build from there. Tip number 3 is to focus on reps, not results. Focusing on results can lead to burnout because you're constantly comparing yourself to an ever-changing benchmark. On the other hand, focusing on reps helps you stay grounded in the present moment and appreciate the progress you're making along the way. Let's say that you want to build a habit of exercising regularly. If you focus on the result, you might find yourself feeling demotivated because you're constantly comparing yourself to your ideal body image. However, if you focus on the rep, say going to the gym 3 times a week, you'll be able to see the progress you're making over time without getting caught up in unrealistic expectations. So how do we focus on reps instead of results? Well, it starts with setting realistic goals for ourselves. We need to be specific about what we want to achieve and set a timeline for when we want to achieve it by. Then we need to break down our larger goal into smaller, more manageable chunks. For example, if our goal is to exercise 3 times a week, we can break that down into smaller goals like going to the gym for 30 minutes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Once we've broken down our goals into smaller chunks, we need to create a plan for how we're going to achieve them. This plan should include specific steps that we need to take and a timeline for when we're going to take them. Finally, we need to hold ourselves accountable. This means tracking our progress and celebrating our successes along the way. Tip number 4 is to cut the noise. Look, when it comes to achieving any kind of success, there are 2 types of noise that we need to be aware of. The first is external noise. This is the noise of other people's opinions, the noise of social media, the noise of the news. The second type of noise is internal noise. This is the noise in our own heads, the doubts, the fears, the negative thoughts. Now, both types of noise can make it difficult to stay consistent, but there are ways that we can deal with them. When it comes to external noise, the best approach is often to simply tune it out. Easier said than done, I know. But it's important to remember that not everyone is going to believe in your mission. Not everyone is going to understand your goals, and that's okay. In fact, it's to be expected. The key is to focus on what you want to achieve and not get distracted by the opinions of others. As for internal noise, the best approach is often to acknowledge it and then let it go. Our doubts and fears are natural and normal. Everyone experiences them. The key is not to try and fight them, but rather to accept them and let them pass. Tip number 5 is to have no 0 days. Have you ever started a new year with a bang? Maybe you joined a gym, ate healthier, or set new goals for your business. You felt motivated and excited about the future and you were ready to crush it. But then reality hit. Work got in the way. Family obligations came up. Friends needed help. And before you knew it, you were back in your old habits. The truth is that this is normal. It's actually very normal. In fact, it's so normal that I'd be willing to bet that if you raised your hand a few seconds ago, you're not alone. So what's the solution? Well, how about we flip the script and try a different approach? What if instead of aiming for perfection, we aimed for progress? What if instead of striving to do everything perfectly, we strive to do something, anything? So here's a simple rule to follow. Never have a 0 day. A 0 day is a day where you didn't complete any of your goals. It's a day where you didn't do anything to move yourself closer to where you want to be. Now I know that this sounds simple, but trust me, it's powerful. When you commit to never having a 0 day, you're committing to showing up, to trying your best, to moving forward no matter how small the steps are. Now let's be real. There are going to be days when you don't feel like it, when you're tired, when you want to quit. But that's okay, because when you have a 0 day, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. It just means that you're human, and that's okay. The important thing is to pick yourself back up and start again tomorrow. After all, as the great poet Rumi once said, "Yesterday I was clever, so I hit today. Now I am wise, so I rest." And that's all for today's video. I hope that you found it helpful. If you did, please smash the like button and subscribe for more content. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.